Hello, my name is Brittany Brooks, and this is my ethnographic narrative project for Nursing 309 at Ashland University. My first experience was my informant interview with a native Afghanistan young man. He's attending college here in Central Ohio, and it is his junior year, so he's been here 3 years. So where he comes from, he's from Kabul in Afghanistan, which is the capital city. His father is a doctor and is currently in politics, and his mother's a stay-at-home mom, and he has 6 brothers and sisters, 4 girls and 3 boys, and he is in the middle. His 2 oldest siblings are currently they came to the United States for college and currently reside here as well, so he does have family here. But more about Afghanistan. It's a landlocked nation that has really hot summers and really cold winters. Kabul in itself is capital, like I previously said. And in my informant situation, he lives in a very upscale and affluent neighborhood based on his father's job and the politics and being a doctor. They have a tumultuous history with war and violence and changing of regimes due to corruption and control. Currently, according to the CIA fact page, the law or governance in Afghanistan is a mixed legal system of civil, customary, and Islamic law. So it is obviously a very Muslim-dominated country, and that law presides. Major concerns, poor infrastructure, inadequate water supply, lack of access to water, air pollution, lack of medical facilities that have basically been started, being built but not finished due to corruption, jobs, and the biggest political concern in the country is corruption. So moving on, the interview went very well. We met at a small coffee shop in Delaware, and it was in the middle afternoon, so it was quiet. It was just us, other than the people working. So I think it was a good situation to be in. He was very quiet, very polite, willing to help, able to answer almost every question. Kind of deflected when I brought up family roles and organization, mostly because it is a patriarchal country and society in Afghanistan. And since he has been in the U.S. for 3 years, he kind of understands and is learning, I guess, every day more about women's rights and the access women have compared to Afghanistan. We covered nutrition, healthcare practices, and healthcare providers as I was following Purnell's model. Let's see. So, like I said, back to family roles, he kind of deflected a lot about women in Afghan society. I asked him what a typical day was for him when he was in high school there. He's like, my father would leave, we'd have breakfast together as a family. My father would leave for work, and my mother and some sisters would go to school, the younger ones, and then my mother would stay home and take care of the house. So when I kind of asked more mini tour questions geared towards women's roles there, he kind of was unsure how to answer, didn't want to answer, and so I only prodded a couple times and then moved on. As far as nutrition, I learned a lot from the research I did prior to meeting him, and then that he himself, even though he is a practicing Muslim, here in the U.S., he's not as strict with his diet as he should be. He kind of has that college diet going on. But Muslims practice halal, which is the way that their food is prepared and what the exceptions are. So no pork, it has to be prepared and sacrificed to God. So it was very interesting to hear him talk about it, and he spent quite a lot of time going on about how his family tries to be very vegetarian, only eat meat once or twice a week, So it was very interesting to see how he how he assimilates in the US in college, with eating fast food, not following the halal diet of his religion, and drinking alcohol, which is completely forbidden in Afghanistan. But that when he does visit his siblings here in the US, they follow the strict diet. And he hasn't been home since he started college, so I'd imagine that he does the same diet there. The healthcare practices of the country, very poor, based on corruption. Hospitals were being built and then they stopped halfway through, so there's just empty structures, and the lack of electricity and running water to areas other than the major cities kind of halts the process of hospitals being built. On that side of it, on the opposite side, Islam has a lot of folk remedies and treatments, or shamanism, to treat ailments and disease in their culture, and typically people see their local shaman before seeking medical attention if it's mild sickness, mild rheumatoid arthritis. So that was interesting to talk about. I think that his perspective on healthcare was kind of skewed because he did come from an affluent area and family, and that he did see the doctor because they could afford to pay the doctor. He said that they would practice shamanism if his grandmother had like a flare-up of rheumatoid arthritis. However, that he referenced that other people in poor neighborhoods in rural areas do shamanism or find a doctor that they're willing to, that they can barter with as far as payment goes, because they don't have the money. Healthcare providers. So if you have the money to see the doctor, then you live in a good area, because there's a decreased number of doctors in Afghanistan. My informant referenced 1 in 1,000, 1 doctor to 1,000 residents. So that doesn't seem very great as far as the outcome of healthcare there, or disease processes. Again, if the family can afford the medical care, then they seek it. If not, they kind of resort to alternative methods. As far as the interview went, I thought it went very well. I think I had established rapport prior to meeting because we had been emailing back and forth and kind of understood each other, like situation. I understood I was a student looking for an informant, so it was great about offering up information. I think I did well with the mini tour questions. Kind of stumbled there talking about family roles and organization. Again, he wasn't very receptive to answering questions about women's roles in education and the differences in Afghanistan versus the US. But moving on to experience number 2, I went to an OSUM cultural fair, which is very interesting. They do it every year. It's a whole week, a cultural week at Marion. And I went to the cultural fair they had, and they had different booths set up, and food, and traditional dress, and music for all different kinds of cultures. But the ones I was looking for to seek out were the ones that have become more prevalent in Ohio, Central Ohio, so Somalian, Indian, Chinese, and Korean. And I wanted to talk to students who were first-generation Americans from those cultures to see how they thought about fitting in, or having relationships with their parents, because I know some of the Asian cultures can be very strict and still live in the old world style, the way things were done there. And growing up as an American, new American, how you have to navigate the waters of friends and family and the conversion of both at some point. I spoke with a couple Indian students, girls who were first generation, one was studying biology, the other was studying psychology, and how they grew up again, I think in this situation, all the ones I've been talking to are very lucky and fortunate because they had access to education and their parents were able to come to the United States. So they're very affluent from their home countries. I don't know so much here. But they said that, at first it's hard, especially when you're raised in a household that doesn't speak English, to learn English and be in a new school where everything's different than you've been taught thus far. But, they've made friends, and their relationships with their parents, it's very traditional to their home country at home, and then when they're at school or by themselves, they can be more of the American type people that we see kids growing up every day. I had preconceived notions. I didn't know how the relationships would be with like the students and their parents or students and their friends. I thought they might have trouble relating, but I think in all they have navigated it very well. Some of the domains of Purnell's model that I found at the cultural fair, like overview and heritage. The fair was about that for each culture, so we got to talk a little bit about the history of India, and particularly these two girls were from outside New Delhi. The communication that they seem to use in their family is very open, from my understanding. Their parents advise and the girls listen, but also give their input on how things are different in America based on their assimilation process. The family roles and organization. Both of their parents are well educated. Both of them still work. So I thought that was very interesting. I did not expect that because typically it's just one parent here, especially when you're a new immigrant. Workforce issues, I was thinking more like language barriers, but they all speak multiple languages, multiple Indian languages in addition to English, so that wasn't a problem for them at all. And then biocultural ecology, dark hair, dark black, thick hair, beautiful, and tawny skin, always looks like they have a tan. Very tiny, petite and tiny. Always smile with big brown eyes, so very approachable and very welcoming people. Students were, at least. So in my research, I did a lot of research about Afghanistan and women there, Afghanistan education, Afghanistan and healthcare and disease processes and preventative medicine. Basically what I found is that the corruption has kind of halted everything as far as they build the hospitals halfway through, don't finish them because there's no more money. A lot of the city centers have doctors, but patients can't typically afford to pay for them, so they seek other routes, such as bartering or seeing a shaman to help cure their ailments. I thought it was very interesting that women only go to school up to 8th grade, and that's if you're lucky and can afford to go to school to 8th grade. And after that, they stay home and take care of the house and kids and parents because they have a generational type living situation, which presents more problems when you look at healthcare, is that women who take care of children can't typically read very well or have a hard time reading, so following written directions about diseases and how to take care of them, or medications and how to administer them to their children, can be a hurdle that is dangerous, potentially. So during my teaching tool, I did hand washing geared towards elementary school students, and I used a poem because poetry is huge and very admired in Afghanistan, teaching them how to wash their hands effectively along with pictures so that they would understand if they couldn't read very well. All in all, my bibliography is here at the end, and I definitely enjoyed this project. Thank you.